Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Zed. Today we're talking about Roblox. It's been a while since I talked about it, almost a year, and we do have a lot of things happening. The price point for this one has definitely dipped. Around 1/4 of the entire price point of the market cap has been wiped. And the volume today is around 4 to 5 times more than what you see on an average day. Even Morgan Stanley has given a bit of a downgrade today. We're going to cover all that today, and also a little bit into what happened. So that's part of the due diligence and news for this company. Now, if you were to take a look into the investor news, not just the general news, of course, you'll get a lot of that, including McLaren deal for some of the contents and that kind of stuff. But we're focused more on the investing kind of news, the investor relations ones. So we're going to go towards the earnings a little bit after, but on the 9th of February, we see the NFL League teams up, or the NFL teams up with Roblox to expand metaverse presence with NFL Tycoon experience. On the 1st of February, Warner Music brings global DJ phenomenon David Guetta to Roblox for a first time of its kind of DJ party, premiering Friday, 4th of February. On the 20th of January, Roblox to report the fourth quarter, which was yesterday, for the results. And you get to see that they have some key metrics back in the 15th of December 2021. And that kind of news still keeps on coming in over. Now, in terms of the financial reports, first I'm going to go towards the presentation, and then we're going to dive quickly through the news to see if we missed anything. So this right here is their presentation. It's very similar to what they've covered in their basically stream. So user spends around $25 on average on Roblox platform to purchase around 2,500 Robux. And a user spending Robux on average within 3 days on the platform for the purchases, that comes out to be basically around $23. And the consumable virtual items is around $2. So revenue recognized around $2. You're able to see overall recognized in month 1. This is back in January, I believe, month 1 of quarter 4. The total revenue of $3 plus deferred revenue is equal to around $25 of booking. So that's how it comes out to be $25. And in terms of revenues, you see still a good increase in terms of just revenue. We're not talking about year-over-year growth, just revenue, but fourth quarter kind of starts declining a little bit into growth, which is honestly anticipated. If you have covered, you're a massive game itself, at some point you're coming into market saturation. And I think we're not there yet for market saturation, but you get to see with the growth slows down a little bit. There's a lot of different factors to put into this one. People going back into work, kids going back from online school where they're 2 tabs away from Roblox to actually having to go in class where they can't play Roblox in class, even though some I'm sure do. Now, you're able to see that in the fourth quarter 2021, you see an 83% year-over-year growth. Before it was 102, 127, and 140. So you see a bit of a decline here, but it's not the first time it's seen a decline. Before the pandemic, it also seen a decline. So that kind of behavior is still better than what you see before the pandemic, but it's kind of seeing back the same trend. That generally the growth over there is a little bit limited in terms of growth rate, not revenue itself. 4 main expenses buckets, so cost of revenue, developer exchange fees, personal costs for stock-based compensation, and certain infrastructure and trust safety. And the cost of revenues, that has as well decreased a little. You're seeing the growth year over year has decreased. The cost of revenue currently sits around $152 million. If you see revenue here, it's around 568. So it's still a portion. Now, developer exchange fees, that has been decreasing year over year, so that's good. But as a percentage of revenue, it's currently around 28%. So a little bit like the start of the pandemic, but not in the middles. But overall, you're seeing around $160 million in that. And in terms of personal costs of excluding stock-based compensation, that is around another 21% of the revenue. So that is one of the lowest it's been. Exception of third quarter 2021, and that's around $121 million. And certain infrastructure and trust safety, that's around $92.8 million. You see a bit of a growth in that, and that's based on a lot of people using computers and things becoming a little bit in terms of having to invest into safety and trust a bit more prevalent. Now, overall, you're able to see that their net loss attributable to the non-controlling interest is around 1.79 million compared to around 4 million. That's in loss. And loss before income tax, you're seeing a bit of an improvement that you're seeing. So around 67 million right now in loss compared to 146.6 million. So a bit of an improvement there. But in terms of the financial measures reconciliation, 3 months ending, you're able to see revenue has somewhat improved. If you're taking a look at year over year over year, it almost doubles every time. But in terms of bookings, you're able to see that the growth between 2019 and 2020 is a lot less between 2020 and 2021. And this is anticipated because things are going back to normal, or somewhat of a normal. Bookings have seen a bit of a small decrease in growth, but still, it's a record, as you get to see. Adjusted EBITDA for the 3 months ending, again, we see somewhat of a little bit of 2019 to 2020 being kind of a record because of the pandemic, but then 2020 to 2021 you're seeing somewhat, I think around 70% or around around 70-60% of what you've seen last year, 168 million to compared of around 225 million. So not the best look, and this is also having things to do, for instance, change in deferred revenue, change in deferred cost of revenue. So there is different metrics to put into consideration for this one. So the adjusted EBITDA overall is still somewhat okay. It's not a record as in the mid of the pandemic, but it's still records before the pandemic. So this company really needs to kind of consider how are they going to pull more revenue as people go back into their real lives and less time on gaming and less time on computer. And the question might easily be answered by more in-game kind of tokens and whatnot, but a lot of gamers wouldn't like that. But overall, the net cash provided by used in operation activities is around 122.2 million. That is kind of a low, including the entire time of the pandemic, excluding the first quarter 2020. That is a record low. So that's a bit of a dangerous thing. In terms of free cash flow, you're seeing only 70 million compared to last year for around 119 million. Now, in terms of the daily active users, you're kind of seeing a record still around 49.5 million people. The growth is around 33, so you're kind of plateauing as you get to see from the start of the pandemic as expected. Hours engaged, that is a little bit less than last year, or last quarter, my bad, and it's around 10.8 million hours. And average bookings per ADU, that's kind of plateauing as well. It's around negative 10% growth from year over year. So that's going on towards the negative territories. That might be what's kind of getting a little bit of users, a little bit more, or a little bit of the investors, a little bit not feeling as confident with this company anymore. And you're able to see there is some growth in some places, but bookings have kind of reached almost a saturation level. Now, overall, we're able to also see other metrics, but we're going to move on from there. We're going to go towards the news quickly and see if we missed anything. So, of course, they're going to highlight the good things first, but overall, you're able to see that the foundation we put in places that allows us to invest in our business while continuing to generate strong cash flow is one of the most unique aspects of our business. And our 2021 results demonstrate the investments we were able to make in our technology and developer community are generating strong returns and will continue leaning into the business as we focus on to large long-term growth opportunities ahead of us. So the company really is trying to fuel into that expansion into the future. And what you get to see in terms of valuations over on E-Trade, you're able to see that price over sales is around 25.55. That's incredibly high compared to what you see with the SP 500 average. Price over book is around 71.42. Now these are around 5 and 4. So you're able to see they're multiple folds what they're actually supposed to be considered as the market average. But that is a place where a lot of things are being priced in, and reality check dropped this one around 27%. We'll talk a little bit about technical analysis. It will be a bit brief just because of a massive dip will change everything. From a news perspective, this news today, or yesterday in fact, relating towards the earnings evening, you get to see that some of the companies or some of the news outlets called this one as Roblox's worst day as kids put down their devices. And there are also other ones that basically mention that they fall a little bit short of the Wall Street stocks expectations. And we do see a bit of downgrades. Now the volume is around 4 to 5 times, 4.4 times relative what you get to see on a given day, but it gets to see still around 27 point something in terms of a drop in price. From a retail perspective, you're able to see that a lot of different people are having or sharing different views about the stock itself. And some are actually mentioning that the reports are still good, But again, it is based on the expectations set, and that gets priced in, and if the expectations are not met, the price drops. Now let's move on a bit quickly towards technical analysis. Before doing so, if you would like to see more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave notification buttons on, and don't forget to drop a like to this video if you've actually enjoyed it. Let's move on towards technical analysis. Now, the technical analysis for Roblox will kind of look hazy a little bit as it drops around 26 to 27%. You're able to see, for instance, that it's below all the moving averages. It's expected as this level of action that you're seeing. It is currently quote unquote bearish under the moving average bands in general and the moving average indicators. And the average directional index is suggesting that this could easily turn to a trend. The willing percent R, which is very similar to the relative strength index, is showing that this one is highly oversold, meaning there's more supply than there is demand at the current time being. The MACD is currently very close towards going to a negative reversal, but the momentum is already going on the negative side. Now, from a stochastic fast and stochastic slow perspective, they're all suggesting a massive drop, as you get to see it already play through, but this can continue on for a couple of days if we don't get massive good news. Now, the moving average bands, this one is expected to trade between 72.20 and 59.07, with the Bollinger bands at 76.26 and 55.01. Currently, it's between the Bollinger bands. The moving average bands have been going negative ever since the 10th of December, so you can expect for it to maybe stabilize after a bit. It was attempting to with a bit of a reversal, but with the news of earnings and the expectations not met and falling a little bit below what they were expecting, that gave it a massive downward hit. From Fibonacci retracements, we're able to see significant resistance at 73.97, 86.89, 97.34, 107.79, 122.66, and 141.60, with a support at 53.08. Now, from a price line action, there are a few significant resistances, such as in the 57.09, above there 61.66, 63.73, higher to 69.68, and then we see one around the 80.19 mark, 84.48, 87.80, 93, and 94.44. Jumps a bit higher to 105.22, 109.93. You kind of get the point, 116.01. The supports are a few, and for this you will have to kind of take a look into something like a 30-minute perspective, and you get to see there is currently no support below the 53.08, and that seems to be the lowest it's been ever since listing, since the IPO. So before I tell you what I think about this one, a quick look into the institutional buyers. It shows that there is some price targets that were reiterated yesterday at around 110 and 136. There's also a downgraded at $65 price target, but overall the price targets average is around 98.33 with 6 buys, 3 holds, and 1 sell. So it still looks bullish from an institutional perspective. Coming into what I think about this one. Well, Roblox is a big name. There will be a little bit of overly exaggerated expectations, and that I do anticipate it will be, especially that the valuations are multiple times what an SP 500 average, for instance, is. But that is the times with tech. There is a market saturation point that people need to kind of understand that we might be heading to, but I do anticipate that it will probably bleed for a few days. And from what I've seen, for instance, something like Netflix, it bounced back, but for Facebook, it still continues to bleed. And the question is, will it pull a Netflix or will it pull a Facebook? But in terms of a sharp reversal up to $100, it's a little bit unlikely, but I think we might see stabilization in the price point by early next week. What do you think is going to happen here for this one? Make sure to mention down in the comments below. Share, subscribe, and like, and have a wonderful day.